In this national park, the tiger got so close to us, we could hear its footsteps and even feel his heartbeat. We got close to the rhino bulls and were lucky to be left alone by this bull elephant. By now, you must have guessed we are talking about National Park, none other than Kaziranga National Park in the state of Assam. Now, Kaziranga has the highest high density of tigers, roughly one tiger per 5 square kilometers, with a total of 135 tigers. Additionally, it houses close to 2,500 rhinos, 1,900 elephants, and 1,700 water buffaloes, and multiple other species. Soon, some research and calls to friends to find out some reliable local guides. Now, after successful trips to Sundarban and Pilibhit in 2024, I wanted to start the year 2025 by visiting some more national parks, in particular tiger reserves. After a lot of research, I zeroed in on Kaziranga, where I could get the rhinos, the elephants, the water buffaloes, and of course, the majestic Bengal tigers. The first thing you would want to check for a national park is the best time to visit it. For Kaziranga, March is one of the peak months prior to the summer. I got in touch with some of the local contacts and checked the availability of jeep safaris on the dates I was targeting. Now, while Kaziranga is a busy place, booking safari isn't as difficult as booking one in Bandhavgarh or Tadoba, where the central or the core zone is gone in like a day or two. Net, I booked six safaris to be done over a period of 3 days. I did not have any safari book on the day of arrival and also on the day of departure. Now, out of the six safaris, four were going to be in the core zone or the central zone, and one in the eastern and one in the western zone. Now, depending on your preferred mode of travel, look for the nearest airport or railway station and try to stay as close as you can to the park. Now, that obviously has an advantage. Your transportation fees will be less, and you will be one of the first to enter the park, or at least in the queue of the park. Now, in terms of gear, I had my Sony 100 400. Attached to it is a Sony 1.4x teleconverter. Then my trusted old boy Sony A9 Generation 1, the 2470 f2.8. It's my Sony A1 Generation 1 and big boy 400 2.8. Now, one interesting thing about Kaziranga is you obviously need to pay separately for your camera. They don't distinguish between mirrorless and DSLRs like all other parks in India. The what it's stated is for high-end cameras they charge a lot more, um, but for these two, it's like they don't distinguish from SLRs and they charge 100 each for the Sony A9 and Sony A1. But the funny thing is, for a GoPro camera, they charge 1,000 rupees per safari. Now, this was going to be our jeep for the six safaris that we had booked. Now, I requested the middle seat to be removed, and that gives you more space and leg room. You can also lie down on the floor. You can have all your photographic gear on the floor, and it just makes the whole experience a lot more comfortable. Here you can see my son is lying on the floor once he got tired, and I have my lenses and other gear on the floor as well. Now, This is the Dhanushree Resort, Kohara. This is on day one. We arrived the earlier evening, and it took roughly 2 hours to reach this place from the Jorhat airport. Now, most of the luxury resorts you will end up paying somewhere between 7,000 to 8,000 per night within that price for a cottage. And within that price, they also throw in free breakfast and a free dinner. You need to pay for the lunch that you can either do at the resort if you are going to come back to the resort, or you can try to get something nearby the gate to which you will be traveling. Now, in my books, the resort is not that important, but it should be clean. And in the evening, after you arrive from a tiring journey, you should be able to relax. Dhantri, I would rate it pretty high in terms of both these parameters. Now we started for the Jeep Safari around 6:30 from the resort. The idea was we will be reaching the central zone gates within 15 minutes, and then basically we wanted to be one of the first cars to enter the gate. So that was the idea behind starting early and also living close to the central zone gate. And here you can take a look at the bottom of the jeep. Now, having taken the second row out, gave us ample of space for the bag, the bean bag. Uh, Now here we have reached the gate and are waiting for the gate to be opened. There are a few shops where you can have tea, snacks. They also have a few replica of the wild animals. Now, the elephant safari starts earlier than the jeep safaris, but we had decided that we are not going to opt for the elephant safaris just because we saw a few elephants who were chained, and when you're visiting a national park, I understand the rangers might need the elephants for controlling the park, but it's best as tourists. You encourage more elephants to be released to the wild rather being used for purposes like this. Now here we are. We have started our safari in the core zone. Once you enter the park, you can basically discuss with your safari driver on what your priorities are. Now, some people want to do bird photography and they're interested in the big four as well. So they will stop by and take pictures of birds. Others might just be interested in taking pictures of tigers alone or some in rhinos alone. And you usually won't find people who's not interested in a tiger because the tigers are the most exclusive animals in my opinion here. And here's a crested serpent eagle in our screen. So, like I said, like once you enter the park, you can let your driver know your expectations and your interests, and they will be driving around accordingly. Say, for example, stop when they see wild elephants. If you're interested in elephants, stop when they see a unique bird. If you're interested in birds and things like that. But I was really excited that I would be able to uh, see a few tigers. To give you an idea, Sundarban has got 80, roughly a count of 80 tigers on the Indian side, and Kaziranga has 135. So, I mean, though the areas and so the number of tigers, the density is higher in Kaziranga compared to Sundarban. I guess these guys, if you look to top right, you'll see a rhino. So I believe I too took some pictures of the rhino, but we wanted to go to the place where the tiger sightings were more frequent. And I think some of the friends or the gypsies that you see passing by are aiming straight for the tiger. Now, the differences or the advantages of entering the park early in the morning and then to see the animal is the animal most likely will get disturbed after a couple of jeep safari stops nearby, right? So, your chances of getting good shots is better when the animal has not been disturbed yet. I'm taking pictures of the rhino, and then again, we are advancing now towards uh, the core of the central zone. Most of the bridges here are wooden bridges, and there's like plenty of water bodies on both sides of the road. I think again we have a rhino to our left, and this one unfortunately looks like has managed to injure its right leg. Now, some of the gypsies that you see going past us, it's not that they're not interested in rhinos. People sometimes arrive and stay there for a week or maybe even more, and they might have taken pictures of rhinos already in the first couple of days, and they want to focus on different animals for the rest of their stay. Sometimes you stop driving, just stop at a place where you know there have been sightings in the past, and then hope for the tiger to show up. And you know the famous saying, whether you see the tiger or not, the tiger always sees you. So it depends on whether he wants to be seen Now we were waiting at this particular spot, hoping a tiger's gonna show up at this place. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we had seen some fresh pug marks as well. Unfortunately, no tigers yet. We saw this rhino. What soon followed was these bar-headed geese. These can fly really high. And our friend was busy with the breakfast. Hog deer is one of the most common deer species, but the reason why I couldn't ignore this little one was I found her to be extremely graceful. Jungle fowls are very common. You usually see them in pairs. And right around where these jungle fowls were busy with their morning activity, we saw some fresh pug marks. Now, the guides and the drivers, they rely a lot on the pug marks to look for tigers. Fresh pug marks often give them an indication, and in addition to the alarm calls. There are plenty of water bodies in Kaziranga, and one of the reasons why, if you visit in summer, you will find a lot of activity around the water bodies. The water monitor resting here, and chestnut headed beetle. I love the color on these guys. We continued our journey and found this male rhino getting out of the water. Rhinos have thick skin and are surprisingly sensitive to sunburn, and that's the reason why they often take mud baths for protection. And one common myth is that you cannot really distinguish a male rhino from a female one. The male ones are known as bulls, and the females are known as cows. You cannot really distinguish based on are the horns. Both male and female rhinos can have horns. Now, you would have seen that this rhino was um, spraying urine, and it's a common practice similar to what tigers do. They were marking the territory. Now, in real peaceful, real calm animals, unless they get pissed off, you can watch them for the entire day.
Mm.
And I spotted some Indian spot-bellied, spot-billed ducks along with darter. Yeah. The rollers are fairly common in the park. Actually, I've got some good still images of the rollers. I think these are the most two colorful and common birds in Kaziranga. One was the chestnut-headed bee-eaters, and the other one was the Indian rollers. This particular water body was quite at a distance from where the jeep track was. And like I mentioned, the rhinos are thick skinned. Rhinos have thick skin, and they like being submerged in the water bodies. We have a few pelicans on the screen. Now, one interesting thing I learned about the wild animals in general is when they plan to cross the road, they are mindful of the jeeps, right? Typically, they would not want to cross while there are jeeps around, and if they're scared, they'll run away. But looks like this one was interested to cross the road and was waiting for the jeeps to pass by. Now, unfortunately, you cannot convey that to all the jeeps, especially the ones which are already driving uh, and are about to cross that particular section. So we waited to see if it would cross the road. Unfortunately, there was like a few jeeps crossed one after the other, and then that's one made its mind to try at some other time. An elephant laying around, laying along, enjoying its snacks.
যা খুশি করে আমাকে ধাক্কা দিচ্ছিস কেন?
while we were waiting, we saw this bull elephant approaching. For a moment, we were a little scared, but our driver was confident that this was in no mood of attacking us. Now, this rhino was running for a reason. It can reach up to 55 kilometers an hour, uh, and this heavily armored mammal will not quit charging until you are no longer a threat. This I felt a little sad after watching this baby elephant kind of tied in the shackles, was not able to walk properly. I feel they should be released in the wild to enjoy with rest of their wild friends. And here we are, day two, safari four. So second safari of the day two. We already had three safaris by this point, but had not seen a tiger yet. This was on the western gate, western zone. They have a good shop where you can buy souvenirs and stuff. After entering to the western gate, we saw some buffaloes and this baby calf walking along with its mother. The next clip here you see is actually of the core zone. Um, we kept on looking for tiger for a long time. Unfortunate, and like we're hoping for the tiger to show up right around where these elephants are. There's a water body nearby, so the only hope that we had at that point was the tiger would come close to the water body and give us a good sighting. So there were quite a few jeeps lined up, all kind of waiting for the tiger to show up. But then, no matter how good a guide is, or how good a jeep driver is, you really need luck in your favor to see a tiger. And while we were waiting and hoping for the tiger to show up near this water body, we heard a few people shouting "Tiger, tiger!" as if like they had seen the tiger, and that's exactly when uh, I was trying to find where the tiger was near the elephants, but it was right next to where our jeeps were parked. Tiger was getting all set to cross the road. It was just being careful. I don't think it was tensed. It looked very relaxed, but it was waiting all this while we were like filming the elephants and waiting for the tiger to show up near the water body. It was waiting right next to the jeeps. He marked its territory and now looking to cross the road.
Ah, got it. Completely.
And believe me or not, I was hand holding at this point. The tiger didn't look much hungry. The hog bears were right next to it. Now, luckily, our driver had positioned the car at a spot where we were allowed to stay there for like at least 10-15 minutes. We took all our time to take the picture of the animal, but eventually, you should allow others to take pictures as well. So, We then kind of moved and gave our spot to other cars. So we had a good night's sleep. I think after the let me see fourth safari, and early morning we saw this herd of elephants coming out of the woods. The baby, as you can see here, is protected well by the elders. Now we soon came across this rhino, and looks like he was interested in crossing over to the other side of the road. Over the years, these guys also have got used to human presence, and you'll see he crosses over.
Oh, really?
In this particular case, we saw a group of animals approaching this rhino, and it kind of, I think, giving them a warning that he doesn't want them to come any closer. Male rhino. This was the last safari. This was the on the morning of day three, not the last safari. Sorry. So we saw some fresh bug marks. We again went around the area where we had seen the tiger the previous day. But like I said, you really need to have good luck, and all your stars need to come together for you to be able to see a tiger in the wild. So you really need to be patient. Now, an interesting thing is going around here. You see a roller on our screen, and there's fire burning. Controlled burning has begun at Kaziranga National Park. It usually begins in the month of March, and this is to promote fresh grass growth for herbivorous wildlife. Now, what was surprising was that even though the fire was burning pretty close, and even we were feeling the effect of the fire burning, but these birds were waiting eagerly for more bugs to come out from these elephant grasses. And surprisingly, the high temperature didn't seem to bother them. Sometimes you will see the flash of a bright blue in this reddish background. I have no idea like how these birds manage to stay so close to the burning fire. He was surprised why we were waiting there. Let's see some controlled fire distance, and this was during our last safari. I think the fire kind of gave away uh, the camouflage for the tiger, and it was not at the usual spot.
पहले मोड़ होता था फिर टाइगर ने सब मोड़ को खा लिया फिर नो मोड़
We
होता
saw this bull rhino, and there was, I believe it was his family. There was a cow and a calf nearby. I'm not a rhino expert, but this looks like not a very immature calf. This should be a few years old. Again, that's a wild guess. I have no idea how old the calf actually is. And just before exiting, we saw this group of elephants busy with their evening snacks. Now, as I take a last look at this wide landscape, I'm reminded how small we are in nature's grand design. The silent power of the tiger and the ancient presence of rhinos, elephants, and other animals leave a mark deeper than words. These moments feel like whispers from a world untouched, fragile, yet timeless. I leave with wonder in my heart and hope that these stories stir the same feeling in you. Until next time, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more similar content.